Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Edward Reyes, and today we have a special guest, Diani, and we are going to be discussing issues with immigration and deportation issues and lawsuit and personal injury settlements. Please introduce yourself.
For those of you who do not know me, my name is Diani Winter-Funde, and I'm an immigration lawyer here in the Tampa Bay area. My practice takes me in and out of Florida, and I'm honored. Thank you for having me, Eddie. We go way back, and cheers, and I'm looking forward to sharing all the information we have. It's water in our cups, guys.
So actually, and we're going live on both phones right now. So for everybody that doesn't know me on Diani's friends list, I'm Edward Reyes. I'm a personal injury attorney here in Tampa Bay, Florida, and I service Tampa Bay, Pinellas, or pretty much Florida. But my firm is in Tampa Bay, and we do personal injury and we do real estate law. But we're going to be speaking about personal injury primarily because that's my primary practice of law. So when people are involved in auto accidents, there's a few things that come up. One of the things that comes up in our topic today is if you're undocumented or if you don't have your papers and you feel like you don't have your rights to go forward. In fact, many times I get clients that they feel that they don't have rights and they're scared to do anything with their settlement because they feel like they might be deported. So talk to me a little bit about that, and then we'll get into the details.
Right. As harsh as it might be to believe, undocumented immigrants do have rights.
Okay.
They do have constitutional rights. The Constitution does not say illegal or illegal. The 5th and 14th Amendments say persons. So any person, once they enter the United States, they have some constitutional rights.
Okay.
They may not have all, but they do have some. In the cases of somebody who is undocumented, they can't vote, right? They can't run for certain offices, but certain they do have some rights. And what are those rights? We call them due process rights.
Okay.
In your case, Eddie, if somebody's in a car accident, it does not matter their status, whether they're undocumented or not, they do have rights.
Now, talk to me because a lot of times, and I see about the rights, and whenever we get settlement checks, whenever we go through the process, not so much for pre-suit many times, a lot of times when we have to litigate, issues come up with we need to prove the social security number or something to that effect. That way they can get the check. They want to make sure that they have a social. What's your thoughts on that?
As far as having the social security number, I guess they need that for tax purposes. But that should not be a reason why somebody's not entitled to their settlement. I think the insured or the insurance company wants to make sure that the individual will pay the taxes on whatever settlement they're about to receive, but that is not an absolute bar to that settlement.
Okay. Now, we have the issue also with, because again, it's still that fear. We still have that growing fear with among the community, people that are here undocumented. If they're going to get deported, because even though they might have their rights, and I completely agree with you on that, what stops, and it's very difficult, somebody just pick up a call and saying, hey, listen, these people are here illegally, and they call, immigration services, or what is it, ICE, is it, or
ICE or USCIS,
to deport them. Tell me, and this is why it's very important to, whenever there's a personal injury settlement or any settlement or anything that involves legal matters, to contact a immigration attorney, because they can kind of walk you through this process and kind of make you, I don't know how to say legal. I'm not sure if I'm using that word right or not, but talk to me about that, because what stops the person from just picking up the call and having that person deported?
Right. And I want to go back to your fear. We definitely live in an era, a climate where a lot of undocumented individuals are fearful. However, there's nothing to prevent anybody from calling Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, commonly known as ICE. There's nothing to prevent that. However, what we try to encourage individuals to do that are undocumented is to have as little or no contact at all with the police or with ICE, or do not place themselves in a position where they're having these contacts. If they do, if God forbids you do, if God forbids somebody picks up the phone and call ICE, it is incumbent on that individual to contact a lawyer immediately. Simply because you're undocumented does not mean you do not have rights. For example, once arrested, you have to be read your warnings. And at that time, I would encourage anybody who's picked up to call their immigration attorney. Or even if they were not working with an immigration attorney, if they were working with an attorney such as yourself, go ahead and place that call, because there might be some options that are out there that they can avail themselves of.
Okay, yeah, and sometimes, they might get it's a contributory negligence, something to that effect. Maybe they didn't yield, but the other person was speeding, and that undocumented person will get a ticket. And a lot of times, in fact, I've had some cases myself, there'll be no valid driver license or something to that effect. And then now we have to fight the ticket, and then they have the fear of going back because they're going through the process.
Yes.
So tell me more about that. Just kind of dig deeper to that side.
Here's my free legal advice. If you're undocumented and if you do not have a driver's license, do not drive an automobile. You are breaking the law. But if you find yourself in that situation, you're going to have a pickle. There are instances where the police officer or the sheriff will handle the ticket matter and not report you to ICE. But you run the risk, if you do get arrested, they will turn you over to ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, if you're undocumented. I want to let individuals know, if you're undocumented, there are certain states, there are about 13 states that allow you to get a driver's license as an undocumented immigrant. Unfortunately, Florida is not one of those states. I believe there's Connecticut. I'll try to post the list on my, I think California is one. I'll post a list of states that allow undocumented immigrants to obtain a driver's license. And I would encourage everybody, if you're undocumented, just do not drive that automobile. If you do, get in touch with your attorney if you do come in contact with law enforcement.
Now, I've had people that they are here undocumented, and you're right about the rights. They've been able to buy insurance and things like that, auto insurance, buy cars. Of course, the no valid driver license, that's their fault, because they decided not to.
They're breaking the law.
They're breaking the law. But they have been able to buy regular auto insurance and make claims and things like that. And my question to you too is, let's say in the random event they are deported for whatever reason, because they broke the law, and how hard is it to get them from, once they're deported, to get them back into the country? Because if we have a pending lawsuit, there's still an interest for that person and for myself and for the firm and everything. And then what happens to the settlement? I mean,
that's a tough one. I think so. If a client such as yours presents themselves in front of me, I'd first look at, did they have any anchors in the United States?
Okay.
Were there any? Was there any documentation that was previously filed?
Now explain to me anchors, because for everybody out there.
Okay, for those of you that are listening and that have not familiar with immigration law, whenever somebody gets placed in deportation or gets picked up by ICE, we want to make an argument or a case why that person should not be deported. What is an anchor? A U.S. citizen spouse, maybe a U.S. citizen child, maybe elderly parents that are taken care of. Any kind of anchor where we can go in front of ICE or go in front of the immigration judge and say, do not deport Mr. So-and-so, and here's why. Maybe there's a pending petition, we don't know. Okay. Maybe there's a spouse that has filed a petition for this individual. So my goal is to ensure, one, that they do not get deported. If they do get deported, then it's certainly an uphill battle to get that individual back into the country. I'm not saying it cannot be done, but it's just more of an uphill battle.
Now, can their spouse, and I know here you can do power of attorneys and stuff like that. In this scenario, and again, this hasn't happened to me yet, right? But actually, this is good for me to know. Let's say they do get deported back. Can their spouse handle their affairs? Can we do a power of attorney, or what?
I would imagine so. If somebody is legally married, I would encourage the wife, of course, and this is something that you can do with both clients, if they want to turn over powers of attorney, and not so much just for that settlement, but if there's a home ownership involved, there's lots of other things that they may have in the United States, whether it's other property, whether it's a settlement that you talked about.
Okay.
Believe it or not, some undocumented individuals have bank accounts and they have retirement plans. So that's a whole other conversation.
Okay.
And I would say absolutely yes, if your spouse is a United States citizen or lawful permanent resident, you would definitely want to turn over some of those rights to that individual so they can handle some of those decisions while you're away.
So it would be a good idea, and this is just, being that we're on this, so it would be a good idea to have a limited power of attorney if they got a ticket, if they did some sort of criminal, in the event, because once that process starts, I might not see them again. They might see you, but I might not see them.
I would agree. And even before, if you're here undocumented, and that goes into part of the planning.
Exactly.
Because a lot of times when you get picked up by ICE or you come in contact with law enforcement, you may get one phone call and it's too late to put your affairs in order. So
Sure.
I think once you're here even if you're documented, your affairs should be in order. But the urgency is there more if you're undocumented to kind of get some things in order just in case. For example, custody of children.
Okay.
Who's going to handle the affairs of your children? Again, who's going to handle the
settlement.
settlement?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I would say that is a conversation. In fact, ethically, I think every attorney should be having those conversations with their clients.
How fast is this process? And we're talking like from the phone call on, and we'll backtrack here in a minute, but how fast does this process actually happen? Let's say the phone call comes in, they get the phone call, hope maybe. How fast does this process actually happen before they get deported?
It all depends. If
Right.
there was an order of deportation pending and they've been doing regular check-ins with ICE, they could get picked up on Monday. By Thursday, they could be in
Wow.
Miami
Fast.
because there's
Okay.
already an order. If there's no order of deportation, say the individual comes in front of me, they're undocumented, they've committed some kind of deportable offense, an
Okay.
aggravated felony,
Okay.
and they get domestic violence, they get picked up by law enforcement. Law enforcement will then take them over to ICE. The process could go on for months. So it really depends on where we find that individual.
Now you mentioned the word deportable offense, and so just to be clear for everybody out there, an auto accident, if they're not committing a crime, is
It's
not
not.
deportable.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's make that very clear. An auto accident is not a deportable offense. There's a whole list of deportable offenses. An auto accident is not one.
Okay, and that comes up quite a bit because I get that quite a bit from whenever I meet with clients. One of the things that I've noticed too, and we've been able to win on these issues, was whenever people are, and again, immigration affects not just Spanish, it affects all walks of life, right?
Absolutely.
My personal experience so far has been with Hispanics, primarily Mexicans, right? And it just happens to be the people that have been coming. A lot of times, insurance companies, they go to these smaller brokers, and they don't call Progressive, they don't call State, they don't call the companies. They go to a small mom and pop shop that sells them insurance, and they just want to sell insurance, and they don't really explain what the details of the policy is, and they just have people sign and sign and sign.
Okay.
And because they don't understand the language. So I'll give you a good story of something that just happened to us, and we were able to win for our client,
wow.
which was great. They didn't take the client off. They didn't take him off the policy. They, in fact, he was involved in an auto accident. They had him sign all these papers, but they couldn't show us that he denied uninsured motorists.
Okay.
Because they didn't explain it to him, so there was no proof of him signing off uninsured motorists. And whenever we asked the little brokerage for the proof, they couldn't provide it. So as a result, not only did we get a settlement for the bodily injury side, the person that crashed into my client, we also are making an uninsured motorist claim, whereas they first denied it. The first they denied it, they said,
Wow.
there's no uninsured motorist on this claim. We said, show us proof of the denial. And they couldn't come up with the denial because they didn't explain it to our client.
Wow.
Because he didn't understand the language. And that's another issue too, because if they don't understand the language, you need to understand what you're signing.
Absolutely.
And if it's all in English, for example, and they don't speak a lick of English or read it, and then that's an issue that we raise as well. Well, how could you sell something to somebody without
They don't know
explaining what they're signing.
Yeah.
And we were able to open up an initial $10,000 for the client, for uninsured motorists.
Wow.
So now, the other side had a 10,000 policy. If it would have had a bigger policy, we would have got a bigger policy. But we had 10,000 on one side and 10,000 on another. So it goes to show you that a lot of these undocumented or people that live in these certain areas, they do get taken advantage of.
They absolutely
a lot.
Which is important that you call an attorney. I mean, even if it's just a consultation. If you're in a car accident, you don't have to run away. You can call an attorney, you can call an immigration attorney, and we can kind of give you some tips on how to navigate the system.
Yeah, so the idea today is that, we kind of want to educate. Clearly, we're doing this in English, and I'm going to see if I can upload the transcript and from English to Spanish, so we'll have the full transcript in English and full transcript in Spanish as well. And it's really case planning for that matter. I mean, you come in, you'll be protected by myself, by Diani. So basically, we'll come in and say, okay, what really happened? Is there a ticket involved? Is there a criminal offense involved? We need to look at the facts very closely, and then make sure that they speak to the immigration attorney if we can come up to a plan. And if we have to move and make the changes to make you either legal or whatever the case is,
absolutely,
we'll have to go through that process, because it's not worth getting in trouble over a settlement. And we just need to manage those expectations correctly.
Absolutely. And I think that's what sets my practice apart and your practice apart, being that we're both from an immigration background. We're very familiar with what goes on, is that we take a holistic approach. So when you come in as a client, I want to know what's going on. Are you driving? Do you have a driver's license? Oh, did you have an accident? Oh, I have a friend who does personal injury. Let me give him a call. So we can kind of compare notes and see what's the best plan, what's the best outcome for the client.
Now, Diani, real quick, just since we're on the video, also, you do a lot of immigration, and I know and you speak primarily English.
Yes.
But you do have Spanish people
yes.
in your office, correct?
That is correct. So even though I speak, me llamo inglés, un poquito español, I do have individuals that can assist me with translation services, with case intake. So I do a lot of my clients are Spanish speaking as well. Okay, so language is definitely not a barrier.
Okay. Do you want to add anything else?
I just want to remind, if you're watching this and you're documented, great. If you're watching this and you're undocumented, while you may not have all the rights that the Constitution allows, you do have some rights. Okay. Do not think for a second that you are just up the creek without a paddle. You do have some rights as an undocumented individual in the United States.
Okay, great. And that kind of wraps us up. Let's... you have any other questions for me?
No, I just want to thank you for having me. I think it's great what you're doing. Congratulations on your practice and how it's growing. And if you want me to come back again, I'll be more than happy to come back. But thanks for having me.
Yeah, and anybody out there, if you guys have any comments, she'll be tagged in the post, and then I'm tagged in I'll be tagged in her post. If you guys have any comments, you can comment on either or message. Or send us a private message. I'll be more than happy to talk to connect you with Diani.
Absolutely.
And she does free consultations, and so do I. So if there's any questions, no questions is a dumb question. So
Absolutely not.
There's questions that people ask that they think it's dumb, and it comes out to be an actual real issue. Mm-hmm. So we're here to help you. If you have to just talk. Even if you can't meet us in person, we'll pick up the phone and we'll talk to you for a little bit and see how we can help you.
Absolutely.